Remember that one show that was so woke, everyone on the internet thrashed it and tore it to pieces like it was predicted to? That it was going to flop so hard on its face, it would hit the Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good? Yeah, I don't either. Why is that? Let's have a little talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, shall we? Now, if you clicked on this video by some miracle, I won't bore you with any introduction to the series, but to put it short, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is basically a what-if episode, where what if Norman Osborn found Peter instead of, Mr. Iron Britches? The show also has this barrage of new and original characters, plus some that are a pretty fresh new take. Fun fact, Norman Osborn was not white in the original comics. The shade they used for him and Harry were not the same when looking at other white characters in the series. Now, what makes the show so dang good? Because it has heart. You can tell that the writers put into serious thoughts how to make a good Spider-Man show and what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. He lets a criminal go free after talking to the store owner. He lets the bad guys get away so he could save a bunch of people from their burning cars. Reminds you of a certain other Spider-Man who did that, and dare I say, another amazing Spider-Man, if you catch my drift. But it goes without saying that the show does show that Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is really leaning into the small crime fighting and focusing on the people, the little guy, which is what Spider-Man is meant to be, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, not your friendly saves the multiverse every 3 seconds and goes toe-to-toe with every multiversal variant that we can throw at him because it's Spider-Man, because why not? The very thing that kicks off the certain chain of events in the show is when Peter saves Harry Osborn in the very first episode in his old homemade suit. Again, looking after the little guy. Although this little guy is richer than Elon Musk, so I'm not really sure how little he can be. But that's where the series takes a little turn. When Norman tells Peter about him knowing about his little secret, he provides Peter with some help. And I mean some help. Like, I'm talking various suits and gadgets, tons of stats and scientists working around the clock to make sure Spider-Man is well taken care of. Bro is spoiling Spider-Man more than his own son. Like, dude, you have a son. But with all the jokes aside, Norman is playing a father figure to Peter, who months before just lost his Uncle Ben. Norman is actually really nice to Peter, while also showing slight hints at different morals and ethics. With great power comes great respect, versus with great power comes great responsibility. It's a stark contrast between the two, with just the switch of the last word. One means show the world why they should respect you through sheer power and not holding back, while the other takes a more gentle approach and implies that you've got the morality to change something that has to be, which in turn people will find that and respect you for that, and even like you for it. Osborn and Parker have two very different views on what Spider-Man should be. One is the stance of power and force and fear, dominance, while the other brings kindness, hope, joy, and is a beacon of light to people and can be more personal than the other superheroes in New York City or in the world. And I don't mean like you for that. Like, heck, his goal isn't to get anyone in love with him. Although he's had tons of candidates in the past, and even in this new show. Like, bro, save some for the non-superpowered individuals, please. We kinda need help on our own, buddy. But once Norman takes Peter under his wing, you start to see Peter becoming less your friendly neighborhood and more take down techie industry for Norman, because he doesn't like Octavius, and because they're both bad people. Peter got involved in something that was insanely high stakes and started to stride away from helping the little guy, even letting his own classmate fall under his radar, Mr. Lonnie Lincoln, aka the Tombstone, who joined the gang to protect his little brother. If Spider-Man would have been hanging around the neighborhood like he originally thought Spider-Man would do, he would have seen Lincoln in that fight with the gang that he didn't intervene in because he wasn't even there, because he was occupied with Osborn's chores. But they don't outright tell us that Norman is changing what Spider-Man is. We as the audience have to find hints and observe what's going on and see for ourselves how far the idea of Spider-Man is going from its original conception, just because Norman thinks it's right. And eventually Peter realizes this and decides to don his iconic red and blue suit instead of the show's rendition of the Future Foundation suit, which looks so cool, by the way. But just by how close Norman is to Peter, we as the audience are dreading when Norman betrays Peter and becomes his greatest enemy. It won't be as rushed as some other Spider-Man shows and even movies. Norman's influence over Peter really made him nearly kill Scorpion. Yet Lonnie was the one who pulled the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and caught his killing blow. Norman's guidance and advice almost made Peter kill a man, which obviously isn't the Spider-Man we'd all know and love. It strongly resembles and even looks like Tom Holland's Spider-Man fight with the Green Goblin, even down to the shot where he uses the glider / scorpion tail and try to kill his opponent. Now looking at the finale, Norman, with the glider and trying to replicate Spider-Man's powers with Peter's DNA that he took without his consent, all for it to be a time loop which gave Peter his abilities in the first place. Norman having a secret project, using the projects of the interns and sounding more like that iterations where he's lost his green trousers. The unhinged, mean, and crazy individual we know. We see him slowly peel apart his personality as the series moves on. Now, moving on to cameos. Daredevil, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and a few flashes of Ant-Man, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and some appearances from Doc Ock. Heck, we even had the Watcher show up in the sky. The Sokovia Accords with the rest of the Avengers adds a layer and background to the story, showing its similarities to the MCU while also showing how it's so different. It helps build the world the show is trying to present, while also adding good levels of good references. Doc Ock adds to the story and is the one who makes the weapons that the villains of the show use. We even get to see how Venom is going to show up in the show later on. They even reference a company Peter runs is in, basically, Web, which is even used in Disneyland for Spider-Man's attraction and rides, which I think is super cool. We even got to see Nico using her powers for whatever character she's going to portray in the future. And we're completely sliding past villains because some were just one-offs that shouldn't appear again. But some obvious hints at Green Goblin. We got Tombstone, Scorpion wasting Spider-Man to the point where Bro is borderline traumatized from it and is scared to fight him again. And a symbiote. The ones we know will stick around are the ones we've seen and know. Although I am interested in how Tombstone will become a villain because Bro helped Spider-Man in a fight with Scorpion. Though I do have my theories on that. Let me know in the comments if y'all are interested, and I'll make a video about it. And a little side note, spoilers for last episode if you haven't seen it yet. Peter's dad's alive! Oh my god, he's alive and in prison! Okay, now to the topic. So what makes this show so dang good? Well, it's the heart, the story, and the fact that some of the story isn't just being straight told to us. This is a Spider-Man we like to see, the one who looks out for the little guy, the one who tries his best and has good and strong morals, which were tested, but he overcame that too. The story was told with care, and you can tell the writers put their all into writing a good show. The animation team used a very unique art style that, to me at least, was very, very cool and really interesting, and leaned into the comic book look, which I really appreciated. The characters were all written and told very, very well, and they all had room to develop, which is insanely hard to do when you're writing a story. and it leaves us really attached to the characters and Peter's personal relationships, giving us a certain level of stress and awkwardness whenever he'd screw something up, or even when Norman would turn on us. It leaves us dreading those moments even more. There were some pacing issues here and there with Nico and Harry, Nico finding about Peter's secret identity, and May didn't even get much screen time, which was a shame. But it didn't take too much away from the show. So personally, I will without a doubt be rewatching this fantastic, dare I say, amazing show. And I'll love every second of it.